Hey guys, Tier here, and today we're going to be talking about how to make excellent yields for your farm plants in oxygen not included. So hopefully this guide helps you out. In my previous guide, unfortunately, I wasn't able to, actually do it. So now I can share with you on how to actually make it happen. Now, as you can see in this example, you can see my bristle blossom glowing. So this means that I'm having an excellent yield for this specific bristle blossom. As you can see here, the score is at 89.5%. And you can see that it's glowing. So it's glowing, it means that it's in the final harvest and it's guaranteed to give me 2 bristle blossom seeds. Now, the best way or the only way actually for you to know what are the requirements in order to get that excellent yield is through reading through the effects. So you can see the temperature requirement, the gas pressure requirement, the water and fertilizer requirement. So you can see that the only thing that's really hard to do here is the temperature because it requires a very specific level of temperature in order to make it happen. For bristle blossoms, it requires -3 to 3 degrees Celsius, which is quite specific and it's not that easy to find an area that actually produces that specific temperature. What I did here is that I looked for a place where it's near the ice biome. So I actually have two locations where I have been able to do that. And these two places are actually pretty good areas. Now, how would you know that this place is actually producing the temperature that you actually need? You just need to look, just read through the temperatures that you can see around the area. So you can see here it's at -2 or -0.6. This area is actually a good place to grow these bristle blossoms. So that's why I actually made one here, and actually I can extend down here. Now there are areas that cannot be, which is here. As you can see, it's at -7, -8. That's not a good place to put. But here you can see that the temperature is perfect. So at 1.5 degrees Celsius, my hydroponic tiles are at 1.9 degrees Celsius as well, which is the ideal place to be. Now getting the right gas pressure is not that difficult to do. All you need to do is make enclosed areas, put some algae terrariums there, and you should be good to go. It's not that difficult to make it happen. Now, of course, for different plants, it requires different things. For bristle blossoms, that you need -0.3 to 3 degrees Celsius. For mealwoods, it's different. It needs higher temperature, which is around 18 degrees to 22 degrees Celsius. Now, it's a bit more difficult to find this because in your general temperate zone area, so you may find the right temperature for it, but if you look at the temperate, it's reaching 19.9 degrees Celsius, but it really varies. Most of it goes from 22 to 25 degrees Celsius. So you gotta find a place where it's really ranging at around 19 degrees Celsius or 19 to 21 degrees Celsius, which I found here in this specific area. Now, fortunately for me, I had my natural gas here, natural gas generator here, and I had the carbon dioxide emitting here, which gave me the ideal gas pressure I needed. The gas pressure requirement doesn't really mean that it has to be oxygen or it has to be carbon dioxide. It doesn't really matter. It just needs a specific gas pressure. It doesn't matter what gas type it is, as long as it meets the minimum of 750 grams of gas in this. So here I have more than enough for carbon dioxide, and it gave me the ideal place for my mealwoods to actually grow. So as you can see, I have the ideal air pressure, ideal temperature, and it's giving me a 98.8% yield. So this guarantees me that at the final harvest, it's going to give me an extra 2 seeds. So that's all you actually need to do. Just make sure, just look into the temperature and just check the general temperature of that zone. As long as you find a 19 degrees Celsius temperature in that area, then more or less that will be a good place to actually build your mealwood plantation. Now, the actual challenge that I really had would be sleet wheat and pincha peppernuts, but I was able to actually create an ideal place for it by just placing two space heaters between these two plants. So as you can see, I was able to reach the ideal air pressure and ideal temperature, and it's now yielding me at 91.1% yield. So this is guaranteed to give me those 8 pincha peppernut harvest, then 2 extra pincha peppernut seeds. Now, you don't really need to worry too much about this one because this is just an add-on ingredient for some recipes that you can do in cooking. And at the current build, it's not really that much of a necessity. But if you do want to try to plant these types of, I guess, seeds, then go ahead. You just need to do something like this. Or if you want something more natural, then just go find a place where there's a geyser, and that will give you more or less the ideal temperature that you need. So as you can see, the general temperature that you have here is pretty high, 61, 70. So just try to find an area where it fits around 55 to 60. Then if you do find that, then plant those pepper nuts there. Now for sleet wheats, those are the things that I really have problems trying to actually find the ideal temperature for it, because it requires an extreme temperature of -40 to -35 degrees Celsius. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to replicate it. Even if I had Wizwards actually cannot generate that low of a temperature. It, it can go as far as maybe -32, -33, but not 35 and above. So as you can see, I even have 3 of these and it doesn't really do anything. So it's still not the ideal temperature. I still managed to get it up to 75%, but that's about it. So I'm struggling to actually replicate or create an ideal temperature for these plants. But the good news is that, of course, in the current build, you don't really need to go for the excellent yields for sleet wheats. The sleet wheats are generating quite a lot of grains already with the standard and good yields. So these are more than enough to keep your base or keep your colony sustained for the food requirements if you need, if you plan to rely on sleet wheats alone. Because as I've mentioned before, frost buns only requires 3 sleet wheats to create, and the yields are more than sufficient for your colony to survive with. But do take note, of course, these plants take a lot of time to produce, so make sure you have enough supply of sleet wheats, enough plantation of sleet wheats to actually supply that 20 cycle gaps each cycle. So just work on that, then you'll have more than sufficient food for your colony and you'll be good to go. So at the moment, I'm still reliant on the microbe mushers because I was not, initially aware of the requirements of these plants, and I made a lot of mess. So after trial and errors, and I finally figured it out, then hopefully in the long run, I'll be able to make the required plantations that I need for my colony to sustain without relying on microbe mushers. Yeah, so that's it. So do take note that if you do try this out at the start of the game, you will probably be dependent first on microbe mushers as your initial source of food, because you gotta find the ideal places for these plants to grow, and you still need to do, quite a bit of research in order to get these hydroponic farms. So that's gonna take a bit of time. So while you're waiting to get those specific locations and specific research requirements you need to get these plantations going, so you can just rely on the micro mushers for the time being to provide you food. And so that's it. So hopefully this guide helps you out. It's not really that long, but I hope it made sense. But if you have any clarifications or questions, just leave a comment and I'll try my best to explain. And if you also have any idea on how to actually make the ideal temperature for sleet wheats, let me know in the comments as well. I'm really curious how to do it. So if you do enjoy the content, please do leave a like and subscribe. And if not, there's a dislike button there that you can press. So thanks again for watching the video and hope to see you again next time, guys. So TR out.